Okay, so J Cho, I cannot get a hold of him. I think we have a good amount ready for the first podcast of 2019.
Do you want to get someone else in, or just this is fine?
I think this is fine. Let's just go with it.
All right, just let me know when we're recording.
We are starting.
All right, happy 2019, everyone. This is Gamecast. I'm Christian. Who are you people?
Checkpoint Podcast.
This is Checkpoint Podcast. I forgot. It's been 4 weeks, guys. Holidays happened. I have a new family member, so that makes 38 cousins at this point.
Holy 38?
I'm guessing.
Oh god.
I mean, I might be off by 4 or 5. Bed's in the 30s.
The Hispanic family lineage. Damn.
Hey, my mom had 9 brothers and sisters. My dad had 6.
Wow.
So my family tree was you have the one that goes up, and then the last generation it just splinters sideways for a very long time.
Oh my god.
Chris, what did I tell you about lying?
Right, I'm sorry, the cocaine. It's just I blacked out for holidays. I went from one snowy area to a pile of other snowy stuff.
Dude, you worry me when you start calling cocaine your family tree. You don't scare me like that.
Well, yeah. Who am I with? Who are you guys?
This is
I am hefty Cris tender.
Wow. Okay. I don't know if that's a jab or a pun.
Christian, you're not hefty.
Sorry, let me correct. I am hefty Cris skull.
Yes.
So now it's officially a 3-part pun.
Yes. Somehow.
All right. I'm not putting things together right now. I think it's also been a long weekend. But it's been good. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope your holidays all went really fun. Hope you saw family and got rest and sleep. Yeah, I forgot.
God damn. Damn. Too much.
You know I don't care, but that is such a hilarious thing to separately wish me well.
Scale down. Oh god, I'm sorry. I'm sorry,
man,
I didn't hear
that
that, Dom. I'm sorry. Oh god.
You don't need to apologize. That was hilarious.
Oh.
I think we were good enough to make a joke like that once in a while.
Oh.
This is the one of the year. I'm hurting this year.
The thing that made that gold was that you totally didn't mean it.
I'm just gonna pretend I did. So this year's already started. We have some interesting news coming out. I guess I want to give you guys the option. Let's make this a little democratic and see what do you guys want to talk about if you're most interested in the moment. I kind of shared with you what I'm thinking about, but what are you feeling?
I have a 2-sentence rant for the Bungie thing.
Oh, really? Let's go.
What people think will happen when publishers split from developers is not going to happen. It does not ever happen. You cannot predict it will happen. That's it.
Can you go more into that? Because
please.
Yeah.
Okay, so a good example of things people will often ascribe to the publisher, besides anything negative in general, are monetization practices and what people see as nickel and diming practices in design or in the architecture of how a game is. And while that is not, always incorrect, finances are somewhere where the publisher usually has some input, it is almost never as much as people are thinking. Mm-hmm. We're talking, bumping something they were going to, charge $3 for to $4 just because they have to meet a different number total.
Right.
It's never a complete change in philosophy.
So this is all referring to Bungie and Activision splitting ways after I think 8 years of their 10-year agreement. Mm-hmm. And like you were hinting at it, everyone's hoping that this is kind of going to be a thing that'll save Destiny from the influence of Activision, which people they've been kind of vocal about how difficult it is to work with Activision, because I think the deal they were trying to strike up is there'll be a game or expansion every fall every year, and that has been apparently a very difficult thing for Bungie to put together.
It's not really worse than other publishers.
Yeah, and based on what you have to say, it sounds like things aren't going to really change all that much. Except
you just shouldn't expect to know what is going.
I see. It's a healthier expectation than thinking Destiny's going to flourish and become the god it was always supposed to be.
Yeah, and one of the reasons I say that is you have one of the clearest signals that it's on the developer end because of Taken King and Destiny 2. Because Bungie had put together what people saw as a great Destiny experience with the Taken King, with I think it was the third DLC for Destiny 1. And then they said, I believe, that they moved that team over to Destiny 2's main game. And then Destiny 2 came out, had many of the same problems as Destiny 1, and then had Forsaken, which many people saw as fixing it. And so they just see the same formula representing itself over again. And that had nothing to do with Activision.
Right. If anything, I think the only... I'm not as knowledgeable, but from what I heard in the rumors, Activision really only wanted them to change the schedule of output.
Yeah, which is, pretty typical.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So all the marketing plans, all the DLC charging and all that was from Destiny's development team itself.
Wait, what?
Bungie.
I said nothing about marketing.
Oh, sorry. I mean, okay, not marketing, but like their business plan, like deciding what content would become DLC and stuff.
Oh, the design, yeah.
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 Yeah, I kind of had to... With the nature of this game, I think it's the first it's the biggest... I think the first big exposure of like a continual games as a service type of game experience. And what's up?
Well, I guess I'll wait and see what you mean by that.
Oh, that is that you will continue to stick to a game for a long time with periodic updates and some microtransactions if you wish to buy whatever cosmetic or XP boost you need.
Yes and no. I'd say it's accomplished that by being the first successful MMO on console.
That's actually a better way to put it.
But MMOs had been around for a while using that model.
Yeah.
But what it did was bring it into what people are increasingly calling the MMO light genre, where there are MMO systems present with other systems that would not usually be an MMO. And that's obviously like Division falls in that category, Destiny falls in that category. I think Warframe does too, if I remember right.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
But so it's not to say they reinvented the wheel. They just took the wheel and reinvented it in a way that was profitable to a new audience. Is the key to that.
That's interesting. I mean, besides the current stuff we know, do you have any predictions of what's going to happen? That maybe with this hindsight and all these things taken accounted, where do you think Bungie will go in the future? Because I remember seeing some things about Phil Spencer kind of being happy about this, and people are speculating, are Microsoft going to go back? Microsoft and Bungie going to make some kind of agreement or work together? Which, with Microsoft buying all these studios right now...
Yeah, that is interesting timing.
Yeah,
I don't know how much I buy into it, but it's interesting timing for sure.
I think that's a lot of reading into like certain things going on. I think because way back in the day, Bungie basically had a huge celebration for breaking away from Microsoft.
Right.
They literally had a cake.
I remember. That was when I was still, a fan.
Yeah.
Because I was such a Halo head.
But they left Halo with Microsoft, and now it made Destiny. But now the difference is they still have Destiny. Part of me wonders if they're going to try and, since now they're both publishing and developing Destiny, if they're going to try to do some other stuff on the side.
Probably.
Yeah.
They're a pretty huge studio.
Here's my question. Do you guys think that there's a chance they might try to tag up with 343 again for any other game?
Nope. There is zero chance of that.
What makes you say that?
Oh, there's so many reasons I could pick from. Let's start with the basics. The copyright is Microsoft's. It's always been Microsoft's. It will likely stay Microsoft's. Or sorry, but I always meant technically it started being developed for Mac and then was bought by Microsoft before it came out. So essentially, it's always been owned by Microsoft. And having studios work together for the same IP is always interesting in terms of ownership. And now that Bungie is independent and certainly will not be signing a first-party agreement, or sorry, what's the word? Dedicated developer agreement with Microsoft, regardless of what they do, that won't happen. So they would never have, even if they wanted to, which is the other thing I would say is not going to happen, they would never have them work together on that IP.
On the Halo IP, you mean? Right.
On the Halo IP. Unless they had that relationship with Microsoft, which there's no way they're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this Microsoft today is way different than Microsoft circa 2009 or 10, whenever they broke up.
So is this Bungie.
That's true. Do you think that those two cases could maybe open the doors for some kind of co-development or some kind of cooperation between the two?
Oh, they could easily sign a publishing deal. I'm just saying they're not going to do they're not going to return to how they were when they were under Microsoft. Which was not just, it was their publisher, it was that they were owned by them. And that's will not happen. I would be, what's the highest rate I can actually go? 95% sure of that.
Wow.
I would side with you on that. I can see them working together, but I would see there still be some kind of separation between the two.
Let me put it this way: if they announced that, an ownership deal, it would be the most surprising thing that has happened to the gaming industry to me in 5 years.
Wow. Do you remember what was the most surprising thing that happened 5 years ago then, or 5 years prior then?
Oh no, it's just nothing really surprises me anymore. Like at some point I'd just been doing this long enough that stuff stopped surprising me, and people would ask me questions about stuff and I'd have well, isn't it this answers? That's right around that time.
I'm just imagining Dom on his rocking chair just grumbling as someone tells him the news of the day.
You're cracking me up tonight, Chris.
Oh, I'm happy to be back.
Dom, just a follow-up question for you as, a big Halo fan such as yourself. The way Halo is right now, I'm gonna just be honest about it, it's not doing very well. The Halo franchise is not doing very well, right?
Yeah, what else is new? Well, and that's almost a misconception. It depends on what you're looking at, because the multiplayer for Halo 5 was one of the best multiplayer experiences for Halo, and certainly the best that 343's developed. The only problem was the single player and the lack of split screen, basically hamstringing the entire game and turning public opinion against the game as a whole. Whereas player numbers and content numbers for their rec cards that you could buy were extremely positive, and it also had the, dubious benefit of having a monetization system that was supported by its community, which these days is almost fucking unheard of.
Really?
So it's not that you're wrong, but it is a little more of a nuanced thing than...
Oh, okay. I did not actually know that the player number for at least Halo 5's multiplayer was pretty high.
The sales weren't good. The retention for multiplayer was. You're right in the way that is most important, which is the image of the franchise.
Right.
That has been significantly tarnished, and we'll see if this soft reboot is going to change that.
It seems like they're aiming for it. I mean, I'd say now is kind of the time. I think there's I think people are almost nostalgic for Halo now, because it's been a while.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Was it 7, 6, 5? Sorry, I literally lost count. 5 came out 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah. You're absolutely right, and it's one of the reasons Black Ops 4 sold so well. And that's people want big AAA blockbuster shooters back, without it being affected by other things. They don't want to, go through the grind of Destiny. They don't want to, have to share the ecosystem with an MMO in third person. People want kind of their nostalgic franchises back, which means pretty much 2, or 3 if you extend to BFBC 2.
Right. So
I wholeheartedly agree.
So, which leads to my next question for you, Dom. What are you hoping to see from the new Halo Infinite or Infinity game? And what do you feel they should be doing, like, in order to, like, try to bring their image back? Because that's kind of why I initially asked, you know, if you think, or if you might even hope that 343 might partner up with Bungie again. But if that's not going to be at all a possibility, what do you think they should be trying to do?
No, well, okay. Usually I try to talk pretty objectively. This one I have too many opinions about the franchise. So I'll be a little more opinionated.
Yeah.
But on your point, I'll be talking about goals. I'm not going to talk about how they're going to achieve them. So, you know, partnering with another studio, like any of that. Right. I'm just going to talk about what I want to see from them and not, like, try to, you know, nickel and dime how they get that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I would say that to respond to that question, first you have to think about what makes Halo so great and what made it so great. And I think you can boil that down to 4 or 5 key points. A couple of which are still they're still just as rare in the industry as they were when Halo, at least close to when it was coming out, at least like Halo 2. And that is the first one, which is a first-person shooter with a good story.
Halo had a fantastic story.
Well, yeah.
Story.
I remember being very offended when someone said it was a big Alien ripoff.
The fuck?
I know, that's what I said.
Like, don't get me wrong, I get it if you think it's like a Warhammer ripoff or something.
Right.
Fucking Alien? Like, really?
I think he was talking about the Colonial Marines design and their equipment.
Is he thinking Starship Troopers, maybe?
Oh, he was probably thinking the Space Marines kind of thing.
Yeah, I think that's what he's probably where he's coming at it. He was like some guy I was trying to really impress to like help me get a job, and I'm like, I'm not going to say anything, but I'm going to note this down.
But yeah, so and I think on that point though is it's not like it was super original. That was fabulously executed.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what really mattered, because don't get me wrong, you have what could be very interesting stories in most Call of Duty games.
Right.
The problem is in their execution. And I would say the last Call of Duty that had a really good story, if you didn't think Infinite Warfare did, which people are really split on, is Black Ops 1. And that's me personally, of course, just my opinion.
I was actually thinking that I'd probably agree with you as well. It's I'm going to your point. I feel like because I've been following Infinite for a while, and I'm seeing how they're trying to harken something between what the latest version of Halo is and what classic Halo is in their designs and some of the current visual of it. Do you think there's any way they can kind of step away from the direction they were going with 5? Hello?
Yeah, no, I'm here. I'm thinking.
Okay.
Can you clarify your question, Christian? I have a hard time wrapping my head.
Yeah, Halo 5 kind of made a lot of changes and kind of framed characters in ways that some people wouldn't say are natural, or I remember there was like a fist fight between Chief and Locke, and people are like, this is Chief. He shouldn't be like needing to deal with anyone else.
Right. He doesn't get emotional, right?
Well, I mean, there was hints of that actually at 4, like his humanity was returning. He wasn't so much a machine.
But can we see the story really did well in 4? Like, for me, the story ended at 3.
Right, and that's the thing. A lot of people...
I thought Reach's story was cool.
What, Reach?
Yeah, I thought the whole story.
Oh, no,
Reach
was
great.
fantastic. Yeah, I was just saying, like, Chief's story for me. Just Chief's story ended at 3. Because they can't say it goes to final fight. God.
I mean, I would actually say where it picked up in 4 was a good spot, since they were going to do another.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
The problem was more in execution. Like, Infinity was a really cool idea. Like, just having one gigantic ship.
Mm-hmm.
And having a crash land. I don't know. It was reminiscent of Star Wars 7, too. But so, you know, in terms of getting away from where they're going, so I was going to itemize it with the points I was talking about before. So if we're talking about a well-executed story, you have to think about, well, okay, what makes the story well executed? And so if you look at a lot of the criticisms for the story of 5, you have its length, so how involved it is. You have the inclusion of lackluster enemy design, like with the boss that repeated himself. You had this increasing focus on AI sentience and the morality behind it, which is not something that is super interesting or engaging by default. And finally, you have, like you touched on, you had a story that was getting away from the central character, which was fine when it was done in ODST and Reach, and because it was executed very well in an entire game. What they did with Locke was try to half-ass it, and they tried to do that with a basically species, but in this case just a generation, whatever, of Spartans, 2 of whom you only fucking knew if you read the books, which is like no Halo players ever. Like, I was one of the only people who knew who the fuck they were. One person no one cared about, and then Locke, who once again was just also put in the game alongside Chief. So you have this lackluster short campaign that focuses on stuff you don't traditionally care about that also isn't even entirely played by Master Chief. So I think they have to get away from those things for the story in Infinite. It's totally fine to keep Cortana, because you kind of have to at this point, but stop focusing on the morality behind using AI and focus more on the practical reality of having AI with differing faction opinion.
I like that. Actually making, like, humanizing AIs much more, where they feel... They feel like they want to side with certain factions. I like that. I really, really like that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of lore out there that kind of hints at what could possibly go in the next game. And there's hints of what the... Yeah. There's also like hints of it's going to be an open world game. I think what are your thoughts on Halo game with that? To me, it's exciting. It kind of because I felt that 5 was really missing those spaces that you kind of got to explore and that were available in previous. Halo game.
How long ago was it that you played Halo 1?
Oh.
Probably 3 or 4 years.
Oh, that's actually way more recently than I expected, dude.
Yeah. Halo 1
also,
is so... Wait, let me see when it came out. When
Halo is actually like one of the franchises that got me super invested in games.
Hey, there with you. But I was playing MCC with friends pretty consistently until 2 years ago.
Halo 1 is a 2001 game. Oh my gosh.
Yep.
Oh.
Of course, I didn't play it until like 2009, maybe.
Oh, okay.
Because my first was 2. And then I wasn't a huge fan until the launch of 3.
Oh.
Mostly because of my parents.
Understand.
I do think of Halo 3 often.
Which I sold it by saying we don't shoot people, we shoot aliens. Which is the argument I made for like, a year or whatever. Until I was finally allowed to play a violent game.
Nice.
It worked.
It did.
Like Brian and Hannah May, it worked. It just took...
So other things, you mentioned the aesthetic, getting back to kind of traditional Halo roots, and that's clearly where they're going, so I think that's already something they've done right. But so with open world, if you look at Halo 1, you had basically a level, installation 04, or whatever it was called, or 07, I don't fucking remember. Whichever ring it was, because they're all the goddamn same. You had a level that was almost open in how you could approach it. And it was certainly like you had many different options for what order to do things. So if you mean in that sense, yeah, easily. They've done it already.
Right.
But if you just mean returning to the style of sprawling single-player levels, and just making it seem more open, I think that is going to happen either way. I think they felt the backlash for that and were feeling it out with 5 and found out that no, we need to go full ball back to the old style.
Yeah, I mean, they already made some announcements that are pretty big. They said they're going to have split screen come back in Infinite.
Oh,
yes. They confirmed there's no Battle Royale. I think
what a time we live in.
Yeah, well, I mean, VR means a very different thing in Halo than, I guess, the rest of games.
It would be a huge difference, yeah.
Forge would probably bring up some kind of VR mode. Yeah, I'm excited for Infinite. I think there's a lot of room to really take, kind of kind of go back into its old throne.
Oh, let's hope it happens.
Mm-hmm. We were talking about other stuff, but we.
That's right, Bungie and Activision, we just came all the way to Halo. I mean, it's related.
Yeah, it is. Is there any more stuff you want to talk about in terms of Bungie and Activision's? I have one quick thing about Activision I want to bring up.
Yeah, go ahead.
So now that Destiny's separate from Activision, what do you think Activision's going to do as a result? Their stock went down several points. It recovered a little. And I really can't think of any other franchise besides Call of Duty attached to it. They are publishing Sekiro, which is interesting. But what's the future of Activision?
I mean, what do you mean?
I guess
they make plenty of money.
They're still partnered with Blizzard. I mean,
that's true.
They're part of Blizzard.
Their stock correction was way below the gain for even 1 year.
I guess I should
know I have stock.
So I'm sure that... Okay, I guess I was wondering if you guys were at all concerned. To me, I always saw Activision as like being the Destiny Call of Duty company. And I know it's more of like an optic thing and less so the actual reality, where they bit like Blizzard, which seems to be kind of carrying a weight right now for the slack of whatever's happening on their end.
I mean... sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I mean... to me, Sekiro being a thing they're pushing is like very odd. I don't expect Activision to really go towards a Souls game. If anything, it's just like it is attached to a franchise, but this is a new IP. It is attached to a very well known and respected developer.
Mm-hmm. Very much so. Very much.
Well,
so.
then I'll mention 2 franchises that they recently rebooted that are huge cash cows, which are Crash Bandicoot and Spyro.
That's right.
That is true. I guess
Yeah, because Crash Racing... Oh, go ahead.
I guess to me, I always saw them as more of like a nostalgia fad. Like, we want this back.
It's a nostalgia fad that makes bank.
Okay, yeah, Britain was eating up Crash Bandicoot. Like, that was on top 10 NPDs for months after its release.
Yeah, and Crash Bandicoot Racing response to the Game Awards was really positive.
That is true. I guess part of me wonders if they're actually going to start publishing other things besides, I guess, an existing IP, or try to push new IP out.
But I mean, as the company of Call of Duty, Call of Duty's not gonna die.
Oh no, but this Call of Duty, which was a huge hit, was something of a disappointment. It wasn't as big of a hit as they wanted.
Yes, it was.
Was it? I thought.
I'm sure that's what they told the press, but no, it was. All of the sensible executives, which is way more than people think, as usual. Basically, they got better than they expected.
Okay, maybe.
Because remember, just the installment pass, they were forced to bundle the most beloved installment in the entire franchise with the game to get people to buy it.
Wait, really?
Right.
Wait, are you saying if you bought Black Ops 4, you would have gotten...
No, the one before Black Ops 4.
Oh.
To illustrate how well Black Ops 4 did.
Interesting.
because they brought Call of Duty 4 back and remastered it and bundled it with the deluxe edition of Infinite Warfare, which is the only reason people bought the deluxe edition of Infinite Warfare. And so when you go for having to do that and still getting mediocre sales numbers, and then not doing that and getting good sales numbers, no, you're not increasing the base like Call of Duty did for so long. But unlike the media likes to claim, that does not mean it's not financially viable or that they're not happy with the results.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, in general, executives are going to tell the press that things underperformed.
Got it.
Like, it was a shock when, I think it's Lionsgate's CEO came out and was like, Bumblebee was solidly profitable. And everyone was like, what? It's profitable, you claim? No.
Let me look at Bumblebee's ratings. I want to see this now.
Apparently it was it's a good Transformer movie.
Yeah, I heard it was a
Hard
good,
to say.
7.5 if you like Transformers, maybe an 8.
It was basically E.T. with a giant robot.
Which is all anyone wanted from Transformers ever.
That's true. They have they've been forgiven way more than they should have. If you look at the track record of previous films.
I watched the second one, was like, this is trash, and watched, I think I watched the third one for like 20 minutes when it was on TV.
Oh, wow.
And certainly didn't watch I guess it's, is it 2? There was like one in the dinosaurs.
There's a dinosaur one.
That was weird.
There was a World War II one?
There's a World War II one?
Hey, no. That was in the dinosaur one.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
But yeah, so the point is, it was most of the old school fans this was the installment they wanted. But so my point is, it was so weird for a CEO to come out and say something was profitable that it was news.
Okay. I guess that's not a thing I noticed, but that is the trend that...
Same.
It's not a thing I actually pay attention to or was aware of.
It's because... Well, it's the mantra, right? Under-deliver, over-perform. Well, take that, but apply it to stock exchanges and earnings postings.
Ah.
Because, let's say, for example, you've been talking about how profitable your games were all quarter, and you get to the earnings report, and you announce that you lost money. Well, your investors were expecting you to make money, because you were talking about how profitable your games that quarter were.
Mm-hmm.
And so now your stock is going to drop significantly, and your goodwill is going to drop commensurate because you let them down because they had that expectation.
Right. I see. I can see very much so why it would make news if Lionsgate CEO had said, "Hey, Bumblebee did very well."
And the other thing, which I guess is also one of the reasons for that, is people saw it as sort of an implicit slap in the face to Michael Bay. Which is another reason that executives might be more reluctant to comment on installments, in deference in regard to optics regarding the creator. Because people mistake executives having goodwill for creators for executives not knowing what bad optics look like in their treatment of creators.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're plenty savvy for the latter.
I mean, they're proving that they are executives for a reason. Which is, I guess, what you'd want. Especially if that's the executive of the company you have stock in.
Right.
Well, Bobby Kotick got, fucking 2/3 of the leads on his entire company's most profitable franchise to walk out on him. And I think he's still an employee there, or was until like a year ago or something.
Who's Bobby Kotick? Sorry?
Former or current CEO?
He was the CEO of Activision when Respawn Entertainment was created and broke off from Infinity Ward.
Oh.
And sued them.
Oof.
Because they were promised royalties if they sold a certain amount, and they did not get those royalties in bonus.
When they
So-
did that amount. Oh, shoot.
So it was
Fun fact.
two founder. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say a little dumb thing. Fun fact, he also had a role in Moneyball.
Oh yeah,
Brad Pitt.
which was so stupid.
Hey,
That was so
sorry?
random. He was like an NBA team owner?
Yeah, staff
Or
person.
not NBA,
What
MLB.
the fuck it's called, yeah.
But he basically played another executive in a movie, which is very
Oh,
random. I don't know the story
boy.
behind it, but he
Oh.
was just in a movie randomly.
Oh, in Moneyball. Oh, okay. That's what you said. Got
Yeah.
it. That's kind of shady.
But yeah, so they didn't get those. The leads, I think almost all of them. And then the two founders all resigned, went and founded Respawn, partnered with EA. Made Titanfall probably the best new shooter franchise in the past. Oh, well, maybe with Destiny, arguably. Not in
I
my...
think
not in my-
Titanfall is a more traditional shooter. Like you said, Destiny's MMO light. So, any other thoughts, or should we move on to the next story? We spent a lot of time on that.
Oh yeah, I think we're
Yeah,
good.
no.
Yeah, I feel like all the following stories are just gonna be so tiny compared to this. What I want to go to was a Quest system with Microsoft and Xbox Game Pass. I think I mentioned it earlier, but what it is it's a way for Microsoft to encourage people to play other games in Game Pass. But the reward is if you do certain things in each game, they will actually pay you not real money but points. That could be exchanged for real world things like a gift card which has money value or a month of free Xbox Live. Do you have any thoughts on this idea, this new strategy they're going on?
It costs them nothing, and will gain them at least a little bit. It's a smart business move, but it's not something I have much to comment on.
Why do you think it costs them nothing? I mean, that means if people spend more time on the games and get...
Oh, come on, dude. Okay, take the achievement for, let's say, completing a game.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll take the entire length of that game and match that against the work hours behind a tiny graphic and the programming to make it pop up. That's essentially what they're doing to drive people to different revenue streams, and I guarantee you whatever value proposition they're offering, it's not going to be overwhelming, and it certainly won't be to the point where they're losing. Because those kinds of revenue streams come nowhere close to expenditure.
I mean, if people are able to just pay off their subscription fees without actually paying for it,
I mean, the amount of time needed is going to be pretty intense.
right?
That being said, I think this is like a nice addition to Game Pass, which is already a pretty like consumer-friendly business, I guess, push that Microsoft is moving towards.
Oh, I guess that is the other part of it, which is it's a really good sign for them to double down on such a good service that they're doing. And so if you're talking about like maybe building up a kind of community base that has goodwill for you, which I think they're gearing up for the next generation, I think they're doing an excellent job to lay the groundwork for that.
Oh, it's just so like I'm really excited to see what happens next generation because they're doing so much work right now.
Which is smart, because I don't think anyone would argue that Sony has won this generation, ever since the first marketing debacle with the Xbox One. And so for Spencer to go like, yeah, so we're going to fix our shit and double down for next time is actually really smart, because it's not like fucking Microsoft is going out of business anytime soon. So it's just a smart move from them.
Didn't they recently just overpass Apple in their like company value?
Oh, in terms of valuation, wasn't it Amazon?
I just know it's mostly because Apple had a huge nosedive recently.
Oh, you're just talking in terms of valuation, then yeah. But I mean that changes all. That's more bad for Apple's brand than anything.
That's true. But no, I mean, this is to me, it's like this cute little thing. If I was like back in middle school or like 5th grade, I'd be super stoked to like get these little, basically other achievements. But it feels like I'm working towards something outside of the game. Again, you said way to engage in a community. That will be like I would be super involved and invested.
You would be able to tell your parents, hey, you don't actually have to pay for this.
For an entire month.
I mean,
I only had to spend 1,000 hours playing this game to get this.
See, that's the thing. Being the older brother, you have younger brothers to help you out.
Hey, Hey,
What
go
it teaches
go,
you is business.
go race on this track 50 times for me. Go make a race map in Forge. Bye.
No, I love playing games with my brothers. Me and my brother have been going through Red Dead, and it's been really fun. It's very much like back in, I guess, the good old days, back when we were still kids.
I'm glad you're enjoying it.
Yeah, Red Dead is. Every time I do a mission, I get the gripes of like how linear it is. But it's just such a beautiful world. Nothing's made me gush over like the lighting system in this game. And my parents, this is like one of the few games my parents are paying attention. Like, wow, this is like pretty. Is this a movie?
Funny enough, my mom said the same thing. My mom hates video games. When she saw it on our TV, my mom was just like, "Wait, is that horse leaving snow prints?" I was like, "Yes, it is."
And that's a shit.
Yeah, like that's a horse pooping. Wow.
And your testicles. Yeah, the only shame is that they copy pasted GTA Online.
Wait, really? I have not tried Red Dead Online yet.
Yeah, the impressions of RDR2 Online have not been stellar. But not that it matters. Because it doesn't. But no, they have not been great.
Brian, I think you had the best point of view. You're like, oh yeah, I forgot about GTA Online. I haven't tried it yet. They just made such a great single player experience.
Oh yeah. You mean Red Dead Online? I forgot about that. GTA Online was actually a really good experience in my opinion.
Ah man, I've tried picking up recently, like maybe within the past 3 months. It's kind of trash.
Mm-hmm.
I think I just like learned to get very sour towards GTA 5 in general. I just hate the shooting system so much.
It's not good. It's not
No.
good. The driving system is good. Yeah.
I tried. So I finally bought it when it was first on sale for half off, which was only like fucking a year and a half ago or something.
Nice.
And so I tried to play it like I think this summer, and I got that's way more than I thought. There's no way. There's no fucking way.
How many hours?
This says I have 8 hours in it, and I guarantee you I was just like 8. And I guarantee you a solid 4 of those were just me idling in the background. Like, I got to LA, past the first, 3 quests maybe, and just stopped playing. I was just bored and uninterested. The only reason I think I'm going to jump back in is to go find USC.
There's no USC, I can tell you that right now. There's
I think
UCLA.
they have UCLA.
There's UCLA, but there's no USC.
Well, that's fucking stupid.
Because
They have
USC is
a
a
few
private
things.
organization.
I'll find stuff like parts of LA I know and go
That's
visit
true.
them, but like otherwise.
The,
They have the old, what is it? The old Olympic sign.
Yeah,
is around.
the torch.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
The
three-color
torch, yeah.
Oh, okay, that's
Yeah.
cool.
You'll think USC is near there, but it's not. It's
Oh,
just
do
not
you know if LMU is on the
Oh
map?
no, LMU is nowhere on the map
Nope.
either.
Because that could have made sense as a landmark next to the airport.
No, the
The airport, I think, is just the airport.
Well, that's fine, because I assumed they'd have that. Long Beach?
Nope, no, like
Kind
south,
of. They
south of
have-
the airport is cut off. There's nothing south of the
So,
airport.
well, they have the industrial area, but they have the beach next to the beach, the bridge, that giant greenish
Yeah.
bridge in Long Beach. That's present,
But it's
which actually
North of
in that
the
area is
airport.
kind of industrial.
Oh, that's right. Forgot about what that was.
Right. My friend, when I was in Atlanta, one of my housemates actually did a 2-week trip to LA, and he was just talking about how oh, it looks just like GTA, which is really bizarre.
you know
Yeah, no, I can get why that's a little bizarre.
the one thing in GTA that I feel was actually modeled super well is Santa Monica Beach. That's the only thing.
Well, it better fucking be. It's like the most recognizable.
Yeah.
Like, if you want something that people everywhere in the world will recognize as LA, you're probably going to have to go with that or Hollywood.
Yeah, no, not even
And so
Hollywood.
I'm sure they just did both, so yeah.
Hollywood
Yeah.
was not modeled well. Santa Monica Beach was modeled very well.
Hollywood might not have been, but I'm sure they made the sign nice and prominent.
Oh yeah.
There's you remember the mission.
I wonder how much of downtown they've got in there.
They got a good chunk. I thought they did downtown pretty well, which is surprising.
They must have Skid Row.
I guess that is Skid Row. I'm
That's
thinking which
way
roads are which.
Kinda, yeah.
Also, it is so easy to get to Skid Row. Like, I know so many people who just took strolls downtown and ended up in Skid Row.
I think I did a run through Skid Row on accident, like my first year.
Did you really? Oh my goodness.
Yeah, dude.
I was just running downtown, and I'm like, I guess I'm in Skid Row now.
That's like just walking south. And you just keep going.
I was like going for a run, and like, I guess I could hit the Staples Center from here, and I just kept on going downtown eastward, and I'm like, this
boy.
isn't LA.
Oh boy.
This is Skid Row. But
what were we talking about?
We were talking about the Game Pass Quest system. So what was your other topic?
Oh, the other one? I was going to talk about the Vive, but actually, we were talking a little bit about companies, and someone recently announced, or there's hints that Amazon is possibly going to do their own streaming service, which makes this the fourth or fifth company. Yes.
Ooh.
So this is the fourth or fifth company saying they'll do this.
What are the other?
It's the second big one.
Yeah.
It's only them and Google for big companies, and Google wasn't trying to do like games, like AAA stuff. They were trying to do like lower level.
Were they? I know Google Project. Is that the one you guys are thinking about? Google Project?
That's Project Yeti.
Yeti, yeah.
Oh.
But then there was Ouya, and there was one other.
Well, Microsoft has like kind of promising the idea of streaming because they had videos of them streaming like onto like mobile devices.
If that counts, then PlayStation streaming also would count.
Right.
And that's just you already own something, but you can also play it on your computer, not just your PS4. Which I believe is what Microsoft was talking about.
No, I thought Microsoft had like a plan to stream games onto their devices. Like not even necessarily needing to own a console.
Oh, there was a rumor, yeah.
Yeah.
But it wasn't confirmed.
Okay. Maybe I went too many steps ahead of that one.
I mean, that's...
Well, I mean, they also have... because So we have Amazon, Google, EA also kind of hinted at it during E3. And then we have Sony and Microsoft, which is about 5 companies. Which is, I don't know, what do you think? This does seem to be like the next step. In the future, you won't even need a console, you just need a subscription service, which Microsoft already has one.
But you would also need a very good internet connection.
That's a thing.
That's the killer. That's what killed Ouya. And the Razer thing. Which I remembered was the other one. So Sony's in their corner. They've got their, if you own it, we'll let you stream it, and at least there's no sign of them implementing architecture for anything else.
Well, I mean, they also have a PS Now for older generation games. Unless that's what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's a different category. That's in its corner. Whereas Amazon's almost the opposite, which is they've been building up infrastructure and lumberyard with almost no games to show for it. I think it's Star Citizen that uses some of lumberyard to edit CryEngine. But generally speaking, lumberyard hasn't had any like blockbuster games, nor has it really tried to, it seems. So it makes perfect sense for them to be going for a streaming service. Then you've got Microsoft, which, as Cris pointed out, is primed for it. And it seems like they've done a lot of what they would want to do already. And we'll see, how quickly they take that other step. Because I think the next generation of consoles are going to have some very interesting features attached to them. Like, for example, what if your console was your router?
Oh, that's interesting.
Because then they could hypothetically optimize internet connection for gameplay. So you could literally turn your internet into game mode, and it would change, like, say, the bitrate. And they would do it with a custom API that they could, of course, give their developers, and therefore allow them to have better network responsiveness. So I could see something like that happening with the next generation of consoles.
That'd be really cool. It was just...
But I use that as more of an example. Like, there's a lot of different ways these next consoles can go. I'm just saying they will most likely be tailored to whatever that company plans to do for the next decade or so.
Right. I think
this next console generation will probably be the last one. Sorry, Cris.
No, I was actually going to add on to that, but mostly from Microsoft's. Like the rumors I hear is they're going to have another box with all the hardware inside to run whatever at its really high-end specs, and then you're going to have a streaming box, which might be where the router thing may come in, but that will essentially let you play whatever, so long as it exists through Game Pass, and you have access to that, and it's able to be streamed effectively.
Are you saying this is not going to be an Xbox? It's just...
Well,
That's still an
I'm
Xbox,
sure they would
but
still
everything-
call it an Xbox. It's just,
It's like, yeah,
it's different. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, no, you're right. I think we're going the same area. Kind of like how phones have different models. Or I guess now we have the PlayStation Pro and the Xbox One X. And then we have Xbox One S and Xbox Base. We're already living in that.
The Roku of Xboxes.
Basically.
Mm-hmm.
Hold up.
I mean,
No.
not that Xbox is not kind of like a Roku, right? Wait, what does Roku do? I thought Roku just behaves like a Chromecast. Does it not?
Yeah, basically, yes. We were just saying that in terms of streaming being its only purpose as opposed to a tangentiary purpose.
Oh, so we're just...
It would not directly be playing any of the games.
Oh, okay.
And you wouldn't have an option for putting in a physical disc in all likelihood.
Right. But you could still stream games from it.
And likely use the media services as well.
Right.
Because remember, there's a lot of media packed into your Xbox Live memberships.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. Oh, yeah.
And even just, people use the consoles without membership for stuff like Netflix and other things.
Blu-ray was a thing at one point.
Who uses their system for Blu-ray now?
Streaming and DVDs, yeah.
Oh
man, I remember that was the selling point.
Can't wait for the day they're gonna be like, remember the good old days and people get nostalgic for Blu-rays? Because right now we have that with like VHSs.
God damn. Yeah,
I mean,
you're right.
Or maybe not, because like this is the Blu-rays came out when streaming services are in, so maybe it'll be like, what the fuck is this?
So
yeah, who knows? I have high hopes about AR. That's why I was always telling the people when they were like, "Oh, is VR the future? Is VR the future?" I was like, "No, but AR is."
AR
Right.
is definitely the future, especially for things more than video games. Like
Yeah,
Oh.
but those people are always asking like immediate stuff. Like AR isn't going to be the future for 20 years or so.
you think
But
so?
once, yeah, except once it takes hold in the mainstream, it's not going away, and it's going to
Oh, yeah.
pervade. Think of it like social media. Like it'll exist for a long time, but once it starts taking over, every company will have to have it. That is how vital a part of our lives it'll become.
So we're currently living in like the MySpace of AR.
Yeah, that's not that way to put it. No, that's exactly the analogy I wanted him to draw.
So does that mean it's gonna die at one point and be picked up by another bigger company that like
Yeah,
makes it successful?
it'll be subsumed by simulation, and then like there's pretty much nowhere to go after simulation in AR, and AR will never entirely go away unless we change how we fundamentally operate as a species.
Because I remember there was an engineering company that I wanted to work for, and they were talking about how they want to make AR helmets for civil engineers.
AR helmets for civil engineers.
Yeah.
It's a fine idea with a horrible hardware idea behind it.
To do what?
To
Just like give you.
There would actually be a lot of practical uses. There's a few
Okay.
for inspection purposes that would be
exactly.
that would be solid. There's a few for mapping that it would just simply be much
Exactly.
easier to have a visual overlay for. So no, actually, like the idea of a civil engineering like AR app is fine. Having a basically console is not even putting the cart before the horse, putting like the fucking carriage. Because the main issue right now with VR is playtime. You could say it's the offering of games, the suite, but that you can debate that. What isn't debatable is there is a hard limit to how long the vast majority, 99% of VR owners, will put that thing on their head for. And it's about 45 minutes to an hour or so. because everyone doesn't like having something on their head for too long. And it creates this instant issue with playtime, engagement, and overall involvement for the console as a whole.
That's an interesting point. That's a really interesting point.
Coming from that point, do you think there's any ways...
the same, actually.
Oh.
That's actually exactly what Danny thinks. Oh, sorry, Chris?
With that, what you said right now, with that in mind, do you think there'll be ways of basically making the PSVR 2 to try and make that less of an issue? Having that be lighter, having it be, higher fidelity and higher responsive experience. I think we've been kind of pushing down VR for a little bit. Do you think that there's still room for that in future consoles, future generations? I feel like there's an existing need.
Yeah,
they're not going to go away.
Yeah, so one of the rumors is that one of the consoles or both are going to bundle VR with the console, and there's at least enough credence behind it to listen to that rumor. And I think the company closer to it is definitely Sony with PSVR. So if they do something like that, yes, I could see that happening. Otherwise, it's going to decay. And it's going to keep decaying until AR is simply more viable than it. Because that'll only take 5 years, somewhat, 10 years completely. So in 10 years, it will straight up be as easy to code and design for AR as it is for VR. So basically, yes, there's a niche for it, but it needs to be exploited or it's going to basically go away.
And that's going to be through one of the two big, or just the bigger companies, right? Like they're the ones that are gonna have to push this.
Well, yeah, but that doesn't always work. Like, just look at Google Glass. Like, the concept... Oh, go ahead.
I was going to actually use the Kinect as an example.
Well, I was going to use the Google Glass for the AR.
Oh, yeah, go for it.
But just so the idea to have glasses that allow you to see AR components or overlays is absolutely revolutionary. It's a fantastic idea. The issue is literally only that it came out so soon and that it was so pricey. That was it. Like, that's what it took to kill what would be a multi-billion-dollar idea otherwise. And the fact that they couldn't make it work for economies of scale says a lot about why we're still looking at VR instead of transitioning directly to AR. Because VR is basically just saying we have better hardware, so we can do video stuff in a smaller package than before, right? Like, it's not a completely different set of things, whereas AR is almost completely using different math, different architecture.
Oh, yeah. No, that's completely right, actually, since you need to map everything around you. Shoot.
Do you remember Slime in Time?
Yeah.
Slime in Time.
Yeah, so Ian was a friend of mine, or is a friend of mine too. Yeah, fuck you, Ian. go work for fucking Microsoft and Tesla and SpaceX. Yeah, fuck you. But no, the programming he did for the what's the Microsoft headset?
HoloLens.
Yeah, for the HoloLens was literally groundbreaking. And I guess that's why you put him on Minecraft when he's a sophomore.
Is that what they did? Wow.
Yeah, no, his internship with Microsoft, I believe it was his sophomore summer, was on Minecraft.
Oh my gosh.
You know, he's a big fucking deal, programming wise. but so the point is just, you know, he was making, you know, it so it would overlay dynamically on different surfaces in a space, and then draw, you know, the game on top of that.
I remember that.
Yeah, there was literally no math. Like, there's no, like, you know, what's it called? Stack Overflow, where you can just hop over and be like, hey, how did someone do this? No,
he made it on his own?
Just, yeah.
Oh my god. Oh wow.
That's what I mean by groundbreaking. Like, don't get me wrong, there's math for it and there's architecture for it, but it's almost all going to be proprietary because it's so rare and so new.
Ooh.
So certainly for the HoloLens in particular, yeah, it was groundbreaking. Like, even their API only gave him so much to work with. He moaned about it for ages. But yeah, so you basically have a lot more effort you gotta put in, and the fact is, when the bulk of money in VR is from people who have no fucking clue how to make things, yeah, you're not gonna be able to pitch AR much more easily.
Especially since, like you said, the algorithms and the mathematics behind it is just completely different. Gosh.
Well, that's when the tech-savvy people would shoot you down, sure. But just from a pitch perspective is where you go into trouble. But as soon as we can do, like Star Wars-y stuff, like, okay, let me pose an example for you. So, currently we have video, right, to see people, talk to people over long distances, you know. HD quality, you know, basically the same as if you were right there with them if you're using the best hardware, right? Is it actually better to have a 3D representation of the other person? And
it would be kind of uncomfortable in some ways, depending on what you want to talk about.
Always this thing that comes up whenever I see the scene of a 3D person in a like on Star Wars or any film. Like, how are they framing each other? What does that phone call look like? Because even right now when we do FaceTime, everyone's looking at the screen and no one's looking at the camera, so you see a person looking down.
Oh, so I can touch on that because I'm a Star Wars nerd. So in Star Wars, basically, first of all, the thing doing all the broadcasting and display is the same thing. It will pretty much do what Kinects and similar devices already do, which is outline your 3D physical form as best it can. Although in the case of Star Wars, it's with far more detail. And then it will take that, send it to the other person, and then display it with custom settings the other person will design.
Oh, wait, that's awesome. Sorry.
Yeah, so the person both on the receiving and sending end can both basically choose and twiddle with different options. So that's how that hypothetically works.
Right. I guess the problem I was trying to go into is how, in terms of the current technology we have, there's some headaches that already exist. Like video calls, a phone call. When we went from phone call to video call, you have people trying to understand, I guess, the etiquette of having to do a video call. Like when I do like video interviews for a job, I look at the camera. I'm not looking at the screen because I want to make sure I present myself as best as possible from their end and their user experience.
Right.
Well, I have an even bigger question for you. What if we regress? What if we decide an earlier form of communication is more convenient for us? And to put the pin in that, I want to ask you guys when the last time you called someone versus texted them was.
Like on purpose to say hi and hang out, or like I need to because someone told me that I could call?
No, like it's not important. Like you're just, just calling to see how they're doing.
Does Discord calls count?
You guys know what
probably
I mean.
was like 3 months ago when
You know the point I'm trying to illustrate.
Yeah.
And so it's just people seem to romanticize those kind of advancements when you have to remember the things humanity can be relied upon to believe in, which is convenience, profit, and if you want to, dial it down even more, you can trust people to be lazy and selfish.
Yes.
I'm not saying you can't expect good things from people. I'm not saying that at all. But as a herd, as a group, you can expect those two rules to be more true than not, especially for things people don't have moral qualms with. So if you're suggesting something that doesn't take those two factors into account, you might want to reevaluate it.
I can see why having a 3D representation of someone while doing a call with them could potentially inflict on the moral aspect of it, since body language, like more of the body language, will be seen by the opposite side.
Yeah, but would you really get used to having the same body language on virtual calls as you would in person with someone? / would you want to? Because I guarantee, for example, people with anxiety or people on work calls, they don't want more detail.
Right, yeah, they don't want people to see
them. Interest in seeing more of you, understanding more of what you're trying to convey. They're good with what they can get. So there are definitely edge cases that are a little too big than I think you can really afford for something that pervasive.
I like that. I really like this thought.
Also, space. Like, screens are far more economic in terms of size. Like, where the fuck are you gonna beam a projection of someone in, like a transportation vehicle?
That would be so distracting. Holy crap!
And what if you only have like a tiny little apartment?
And then,
It's like, okay, let me just
boy.
disable all of this while I go to the bathroom. Whereas on Discord, I'm just like, and I'm good.
I mean, trying to do an AR call, yeah. That's...
But whereas, let's take sports. Like, people would way prefer to see it, a simulation of it happening in front of them.
Would you?
A lot of people would, for sure.
I feel like that would be cool for like 15 minutes and then you get over it.
Just think of all the people who are rabid sports fans who can never afford to go to a game.
And then they could, well, yeah. I mean, if you could watch, like, if you're a Barcelona fan, you could watch a live football game in America. That'd be sick.
Exactly.
Alright, we're kind of near the end of time, but last thought on this thing, I really like the idea of replaying old games, the like previous 1940s games in AR. As like a historic recreations, like I'd be down to see that.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
I mean, that is how films are going to move. Which is funny, because it'll basically be games at that point.
Right. I mean,
Like, in terms of construction, at least. Because it'll just be setting up 3D models for everything. Or mocapping everything.
I gotta end this. We're like way away from the topic. I want to keep talking a little bit more.
We deviated on stuff like Halo.
But it's been really fun. So this is Checkpoint. My name is Christian.
This is B-Chan.
My name is Skull Cris Chonk Tender.
And I have no family. Good night, everyone.
But he does have cocaine.